Hey there, Dr. Veit Schenk here with a quick video on the first role of marketing. Now, what is the first role of marketing? The purpose of marketing, at least in the beginning, is to attract as many people as possible into a sales funnel so you can then have a great chance of converting them into customers later on. At least that's what they're telling you in Marketing 101, and it's something I observe in practice. Whenever I go and speak to small business owners and ask them, whom are you trying to reach with your ads? They're saying, well, as many people as possible. I want to reach everyone because then I have a great chance of getting clients later on. And although that is true to some extent, there is a counterintuitive reason why that is actually sabotaging everything you're doing later on and reducing your chances of getting good high-paying clients with all your marketing. And I'm now going to give you 4 very specific reasons to illustrate how this is happening in practice. Alrighty? So the overall role is to attract, which is correct. But I'm going to show you a much better way of doing this. So the first one is a bottleneck. Okay? Let's pretend, or it's basically a bottleneck in every marketing system out there. When you have a sales funnel, there will be bottlenecks. There will be places where you lose a lot of customers. Alrighty? And let's pretend for a second that you are a coach or consultant. And one of the great ways for consultants or coaches to get clients is to do a free interview. You spend a few minutes or half an hour, 45 minutes with a client so you can decide whether you want to work with them and they can decide whether they want to work with you. Fine. Now, if you had marketing out there where you're attracting everyone can just phone you up because your ad said free beer, and then you want to figure out in that half-hour presentation or half-hour conversation whether they're actually good clients for you, you'd be totally overwhelmed. You just wouldn't have the bandwidth to deal with all these people or all these inquiries. So that's a natural bottleneck. For a coach and consultant, the natural bottleneck is the personal time they can spend on free consultations. And just like for coaches and consultants, basically every single marketing system or sales funnel has a natural bottleneck in there. And yes, over time we can work on these bottlenecks, but there's always going to be one. And if you are attracting too much traffic into your sales funnel, you're very quickly hitting that bottleneck. So that is reason number 1 why it is unwise to try to attract as many people as possible. Number 2 is something I call the Facebook effect. And the Facebook effect is a very real, very measurable effect you can see in practice. So I like using Facebook, but you can basically observe this anywhere in marketing. And basically all this is that the cost of your marketing goes up and the quality of your marketing goes down when you try to reach the masses. So here's the example from Facebook. As you may know, in Facebook, or Facebook does not show any status update you have to everyone by default. It only shows it to all your friends once it's determined that the quality of your post is high enough. And the way it determines if the quality is high enough is by looking at how many shares you're getting, how many likes you're getting, how many comments you're getting, all that kind of thing. On Twitter it would be how many retweets you're getting. Once the platform has determined this is high quality content, then it will be shared. On Google, the equivalent would be if it sees that there are low click-throughs, then the cost of that ad will go up because Google thinks, well, low click-throughs means it's a low quality ad. So overall, the Facebook effect is this here. If you can go in and create a real buzz by talking to people individually, encouraging them, getting feedback from them, getting those individual referrals, by creating a real community or a tribe where everyone talks to each other, then you have got something where the platforms behind it can determine this is high quality. And when quality goes up, the prices for your advertising go down and the overall reach of your advertising message goes up. It's basically you're getting boost from the platforms. That's Google, that's Twitter, that's Facebook. So that's number 2, the Facebook effect. Number 3 is the big fish effect. Big fish, I think I can best illustrate with an example from personal experience. Pretend you're at a seminar. You're giving a seminar or you're speaking at a seminar, and let's say there are 100 people in the room. Now out of those 100 people, there is one real big fish. The person with lots of influence, lots of money, and a big problem they want solved. and you're a coach or a consultant, and you can solve that problem for them. Now you know when you're solving a big problem for someone who's got lots of money, everyone's going to be very happy, and so is your bank account. If you're now going in and creating an overall message that speaks to the average person in the room, not the big fish in particular, but the average prospect in the room, Mr. Big Fish is very unlikely to go, yeah, this is specifically for me and therefore I'm going to jump up and down. And if they don't jump up and down, you may make a few sales to individuals, a few of the other one, of the smaller fish, but certainly not to the big fish. Now there is a reverse thing, or almost a doubling effect there. If you now go in and create a specific message for Mr. Big Fish, Mr. Big Fish goes, yes, this is specifically for me. I'm going to jump up and down and I want this. As a side effect, a lot of the smaller fish will go, oh, look at this. Mr. Big Fish is jumping at it. This must be good. That is yet another reason why it is wise to always focus on very narrow markets or subgroups of your market whom you are targeting. And in practice, this is an application of the 80-20 principle, although especially in coaching and consulting, it's more like the 95-5 principle as opposed to the 80-20 principle. So that is point number 3, the big fish. Which brings us to number 4, the very geeky testing and tweaking part. Alrighty? Personally, my background is computer science. I love testing and tweaking. There you go. But there's a reason for this. It's not just the geeky side in me. There is a very practical reason, and that is the truth or the fundamental principle of direct marketing, of online marketing, of pretty much any marketing that's not brand advertising, is that you need to test and optimize over time. You never know in advance, or it's very, very, very difficult to know in advance, whether your marketing message is going to resonate with your market, whether you are hitting those hot buttons. And yes, you can test them, but ultimately you will never know whether an offer for free beer or free wine is going to work better. But the market is going to give you that feedback. Now, the big problem is if you are sending out a message to 1 million people and you have a small variation between free beer or free wine, or say you're split testing an offer on a Thursday or a Saturday, and you're getting a small, a tiny change between those two out of 1 million responses, then you cannot decide which one's better. But if you now take that same peak, say here are my 1 million, and I've got a little peak here, and I've got a little peak here, and this happens to be a difference between those two, because this is on a scale of 1 to million, there's a difference of 0.01%. Well, you can't tell the difference. You can't tell whether this one worked better than that one. Now, if I take away those 1 million down here and put this on a scale of 1 to, say, 100, alright, 100 people responded, then suddenly this little thing here is no longer 0.01% bigger than this one. Actually, it's 10% bigger than this guy. And the 10% difference, now that's significant. 10%, 15%, you do, and this goes back to the attraction part where I said earlier with the bottleneck. If you've got a number of bottlenecks and each time you look at it you can improve it by 10%, well, take this across 5 or 10 different steps, you've easily doubled your business just by looking at small changes. But you cannot do that when you've got so much noise by doing general advertising where everyone goes, yeah, I want it, and then they find out they don't actually want it. Alrighty? So let's call this the testing impossibility, or just test. So to summarize, the big marketing 101 fallacy almost is that you want to attract as many people as possible. And yes, that is true to some extent. But unfortunately, most people get it wrong and they interpret it in a way, I want to attract as many people as possible. Here are 4 reasons why you should always, instead of attract, you should reject as many people as possible. Because the truth is, there are 6 to 7 billion people on this planet, and the vast majority of them are not qualified to be prospects. So you are much better off rejecting as many as possible, because it helps you with bottlenecks. If you're doing a one-on-one type thing, you cannot cope with an influx of 7 billion people. It helps you with the Facebook effect. You simply cannot communicate and comment on 7 billion people's Facebook accounts. It's just not possible. There are far too many small fish in there, and you really want to reverse that situation. You want to get the big fish jumping up and down so that even the little fish are going, oh, big fish is on board, I must be on board as well. And of course, with 7 billion people hitting your page, it's impossible to see any statistical difference between your two test points. These are just 4 reasons why you should always do rejection marketing as opposed to attraction marketing. And the reason behind that is because all of this funnels into or affects your sales funnel. Every single sales funnel has bottlenecks or leverage points. And the more you can open up those leverage points, the more you can get a good steady flow through your sales funnel from prospect to buying customer or paying customer. Alrighty, hope this was useful. There is a second video where we go into the second role of marketing, which is all about the use of sales psychology. Alright, so that'll be somewhere down below this video, and I speak to you soon.